left, our own James Dewar, who was awarded the Commonwealth Award by the Massachusetts Association of School Councils. There he is. I'm going to say that again when he's back on. He's sideways. While he's getting settled, I'm also going to remind everybody that we have Everyday Heroes this Thursday at 6:30. And James, while you were, oh, is he gone again? When he's back, I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
Because it's exciting. James, are you good?
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I was congratulating you, and then you disappeared. So congratulations on your Commonwealth Award for the Massachusetts Association of School Councils.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done. All right. So after all that good news, I'm going to give it to Jay, and he's going to discuss the 2021-2022 fees.
All right. Thanks, Laura. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
I've done this a million times. So as you're well aware, since last spring, the school committee has engaged in numerous discussions regarding fees, and in particular, the possibility of adding athletic and activity fees. After the last discussion, I was asked to present my recommendation for moving forward, and I've tried to summarize that with this one slide. My recommendation would be that we restart the transportation fees as we've discussed for the 21-22 school year, as those revenues are already built into the FY22 budget, roughly $140,000. I would recommend that we do not add any additional fees for the 21-22 school year, really for two reasons. The main reason being that is my belief that we want to maximize participation and reconnection among students, probably more so than we've ever needed to do that before. In fees, no matter what your take on fees is, I would argue that it's fairly undeniable, in my opinion, that fees are a deterrent to participation and therefore connection between students and with staff. Secondarily, that additional funding, we've now at this point already built that FY22 budget. We look to be in good shape for the coming fiscal year. And again, that funding for any additional fees is not included in the FY22 budget. So it would be a nice to have, but it is by no means a necessity for us. I would recommend that we look at revenue and maybe look at it a little differently and a little more aggressively in terms of revenue generation in ways that go in a different direction than fees for a service like athletics, like activities. In an effort to add revenue, I would recommend that next year we make significant strides forward in looking to increase student and family opportunities that address real, current, and actual needs. The two things that jump out to me in this area would be the development of before and after school programming at our 4 elementary schools. Right now we have some after school programming, but it's not across all 4 schools, and it's essentially outsourced. We have no before school programming. A lot of area districts have that programming. It's a need that families desperately want. And even when it's quite affordable, it's a great revenue generator for districts. And the second would be a student driving program. Again, numerous districts in the area. The biggest one I know of is, I think it's Acton Boxborough has the small fleet of cars, and they seem to have a great program, and we are already planning to get over and take a look at some of the different programs that are in place. That's a huge need. We have students, our own Grafton students are traveling all over the area to access driving programs and classes to meet this need. I believe we could provide it in-house, after school predominantly, on weekends, vacations, etc. And again, meet a tremendous need and also generate quite a bit of revenue potentially. I would like to do this first over the course of the coming year, again, to generate revenue by meeting actual needs as opposed to generating revenue by potentially decreasing involvement, and basically not doing something that I believe is beneficial to students. So that's my recommendation, and I can take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jay. Any questions from the committee? Well, seeing none. So I love that idea. Obviously, you all know my thoughts about the activity and athletic fees. I won't restate them, but I like looking at different ways to bring in revenue to keep our costs and our budget responsible. I will say back in my day, we did have driver's ed in the school, and we would go out in an elective period or after school, and I learned to drive on the old Plymouth Horizon around Downingtown, Pennsylvania. So and they did a phenomenal job, I will say. And I think it's a great thing to look at. And I like this solution a lot better. I do think we should look at fees earlier. This was on me this year, but we should kind of think about it when we're building our budget, and look at transportation fees in the future as well, and maybe see what we can do about bringing in revenue to reduce those fees possibly over the years. I'd like to see that. I think we're all in agreement that we don't care for those fees either, and perhaps we can be creative in the future. I don't know. I know our budget is very tight. We don't have a lot of extra money, but perhaps these programs could do that. So those are my thoughts. We would need, Liz, I see your hand, so I'll stop talking. Liz.
Well, I didn't have any questions, just discussion.
So, discussion's fine. Yeah.
To that. So I also support this recommendation. I'm just going to address sports fees because I also, excuse me, like Laura, I think with the bus and parking fees, I think that's already built into our budget this year, and we're counting on those. So I think it would be nice to revisit them next year. I also hate to charge kids for those, but I think we need to this year. So I'm in support of both arms of that recommendation. But regarding the sports fees, I read an interesting study by the National Institutes of Health this week, and I think it just emphasized the benefits of offering sports, and it talked about how sports fees can affect those. It talked about maintaining the opportunity for students to be physically active at a high school age when for some activity levels tend to decrease, and the positive correlation between sports and the psychosocial benefits, decreased depression, help with academics, and increased career success, and all these benefits that I would hate. I've talked before about my belief that even if we offer some kind of help for people who can't afford the sports fees, I believe that there's still a population of people who would choose, instead of asking for help, to just not participate. And I'd hate to see that. And I want to have these opportunities available to all kids. And I don't want to see anyone say, oh, there's a fee, so I'm just not going to run cross country this year. I'm not going to bother. I'd rather than embrace it and take that opportunity. If we were in a situation where, a lot of the schools in the study had to impose fees because they were in a situation where they were going to not be able to offer sports unless they didn't. We're not in that situation. Sports fees are not in our budget this year. We figured out a way to come within our budget without charging those. So I think if we can, I think we have an obligation to try to offer as many opportunities as we can with the money that we have to work with. And this is how I think we ought to do this. I've heard one argument that I gave some considerable thought, and that was that last year the committee, in talking about override and trying to prepare and do their best to save money in anticipation of asking for an override, voted to impose these fees, and to go back now and charge them might look like a bait and switch sort of situation. And I thought a lot about that, and I just think that it's a small part of the budget, and I think that we can make different decisions, and year to year we can make different budget decisions, and I think that's okay. I think that I don't want to sacrifice certain students' opportunity to be able to engage in these sports, because we might have a difficult question to answer in a few years. And I think the answer to that question is that we always have, the school committee always has and always will continue to offer students as many opportunities as it can at a very low cost to the taxpayer, especially compared to other districts in the Commonwealth. So I think we're still doing a fantastic job with that, and I think we should continue to not impose sports fees.
Thank you, Liz. Any other comments or questions? If not, I would need a motion for we do have to figure out the bus fees. So I would need a motion on that. The current recommendation, I think, on the table, not a motion, but is to keep them as they were last year, which was $200 per student with a family cap of $400. Anita, do you know if there's going to be, I know we're very late in getting these out there, is there going to be an early bird incentive this year? Do you guys know that yet?
No, there's not going to be one right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot. That was
no.
a couple years ago. Amy,
I'd like to make the motion if I may.
you certainly may.
I vote the school committee approve the fees for next year in the amount of $0 for athletic fees, $200 per student with a $400 family cap on transportation for grades 7 through 12, and a $200 parking fee for the high school.
Motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, this will be a roll call vote. Amy Marr,
Aye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rahul Rati,
Aye.
Laura Austin, aye. Motion carries 5-0. Right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for your patience with this. And obviously this will be a topic we're going to continue to discuss. And I'll see you in a few months on this. Hopefully, I guess. And let's see how I do the motions without Jen here. If I not the motions, but the roll call. Do I call Jen's name? Any bets on that? So moving on, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to discuss the superintendent's evaluation. So let's see. There we go. Forgive my poor graphics. There aren't any. But this is Jay's evaluation for the year. What I want to tell you what I did was I compiled everything into a brief presentation. I didn't include everybody's comments. I definitely included comments from each of us, and I included everybody's final comment. So we'll go through that. And then of course I will give the committee any chance to add on or share any of their opinions about Jay this year. So Jay, first of all, this is an amazing review. I want to thank you on behalf of the committee for all of your hard work this year. I'm very pleased to kind of go through this with you tonight. So I'll start. It's hard to do this with you guys on the side, so I'm going to minimize you. And if you have a comment or you need to interrupt, just shout out for now. So Jay's performance on goals, develop and execute effective plans, procedures, routines, and operational systems to address the health, safety, and social emotional needs of students, and implement a cohesive approach to recruitment, hiring, induction, and support of staff. We had 3 mets and 2 exceeded. So from the committee, he met his goal. His second goal was to ensure that instructional practices in all settings reflect high expectations, engagement of all students, and are personalized to accommodate diverse learning styles, needs, and levels of readiness. In that one, we had 3 METs and 2 significant progress. That's a lofty goal, and I think one that is always something that we strive to do. For the standards, so just for the people at home, we evaluate Jay on 4 different standards. For instructional leadership, we had 4 exemplaries and 1 proficient, so his rating was exemplary. I would like to share this comment from one committee member. Also, for the committee, the ratings are not always in the same order, so I just mixed it up so people couldn't make any kind of pattern from the committee members. So Jay set the standard for the district's teachers and staff by setting clear and consistent expectations up front. The district would deliver quality education to and expect quality results from every student, be they hybrid or fully remote. Flexibility was the key word for the year, and he communicated these expectations throughout the year through his senior team and maintained an unflappable attitude that set the tone. When new challenges arose, he was right there with them, helping to solve them. When rules and guidance were changed by DESE several times during the year, he simply led the senior staff to adapt to them. And that was very well said. For standard number 2 on management and operations, 5 exemplaries. Jay leads by example. His work ethic and devotion to education comes through in all departments and into the management of our district. He personally delivered devices and mobile hotspots over the summer and worked directly with families to make sure they had what they needed for remote learning. In addition, Jay and team were quick to adapt to things that weren't working, such as the middle school schedule, and were able to bring in students who weren't excelling in online learning to in-person learning. I'd like to share a small example of his management style that I think demonstrates his commitment to the district. On most mornings, we can find Jay outside helping to direct traffic at the middle and high school. That is not something that superintendents usually do. One snowy morning, I spotted Jay shoveling the walk. When I asked him about it, he said, "I'm just glad I remembered my shovel." Jay does what is needed when it is needed for our district and students. Standard 3, family and community engagement, all exemplaries. And I've included 2 comments on this. Jay has went above and beyond this summer with family and community engagement. The district held multiple virtual meetings as the district would move to a new school model. He opened a Grafton Public Schools social media page that the community has embraced. He is very responsive to all questions and concerns. In a year with so much change and uncertainty, his constant communications and reassurance is what the school community needed. I feel there are more opportunities to showcase student district achievements. The Grafton Public School is so much to be proud of, and I would like to give it even more recognition, perhaps bi-weekly newsletter, social media posts, or local papers and articles. And another comment, communications to families in the community were frequent, clear, and comprehensive. Standard 4, the professional culture. We had 2 proficients and 3 exemplaries with a rating of exemplary. And this comment, Jay strives to create a culture that is healthy, rigorous, and positive. Our teachers faced significant stress and demands this year. Jay recommended implementing weekly half days to make sure our teachers had more time to plan, knowing the decision may not have been popular with parents. He provided ongoing trainings and supplies to help make teachers feel that they were prepared to teach. He and Kristen held regular meetings with the Grafton Teachers Association leaders to swiftly resolve any problems. He visited schools regularly and even did a week of elementary recess duty. Jay makes himself available for staff members. And another comment, multicultural staff recruitments are on the floor moving forward. The district is in the process of an equity self-assessment. Every demographic represented in the school community is being contacted to receive feedback and suggestions. All of this is a very positive development. And finally, his overall performance is exemplary. I've included all the comments on this, but I'm not going to go through and read them all because I've already broken my rule about reading slides. But I think this first one kind of sums it up. The Grafton Public School District is lucky to have such a hardworking, forward-looking, and caring superintendent. You can see that the comments are very positive, talking about transparency, and how much we are lucky and grateful to have Jay leading our district. So Jay, you are always very quick to give credit to everybody else but yourself. I know you hate compliments, and you probably had me on mute this whole time so as not
Oh,
to
I didn't.
hear. But I really want to thank you. You can see in your review that we appreciate you. And at this point, I'll open it up to the committee if they have any other comments that they want to say. I mean, I summed it up. I put in as so many words, but
I just want to thank the committee for all the feedback. I definitely look forward to having an even better and certainly a more normal next year. Can't wait for it. And it is true that any and all positives are a direct reflection on a really exceptional team that includes certainly all of you guys. Kristen Gasper and Tracy kept me sane this year. GTA leadership that you touched on. I mean, the meetings weren't always the most fun, but we were meeting every week to kind of work through problems that come up. The addition of Anita with Neil, Bob, Nicole, all the principals, the staff as a whole. It really, there isn't one thing that gets done well that I might get accolades for that's not a reflection of the work of many, many people. So I look forward to keeping that going and hopefully getting even better next year. I'm really excited about the coming year. So thank you.
well, thank you. Any other comments? Amy.
I just wanted to say that, and I mean this in the nicest possible, respectful way. I've done a lot of personal evaluations in I used to have a career. This was the hardest one to write because Jay takes no credit for anything. And we need to stop him from doing that in the future. It was very difficult to root through his self-evaluation, and Kristen's nodding because she read it, I'm sure. You know, it can't all be everybody else, Jay. You know, the state requires we evaluate you. But thank you for making it hard and challenging. And thank you for everything you've done this year.
Thank you.
Liz.
I found the same thing, Amy, but I think that's a mark of good character and excellent leadership. Someone who does that. So thank you for all you do, Jay.
Oh, thank you.
Well, excellent. We do need to vote on his evaluation. So I think what we can do is just take a motion to vote for it as presented. His overall score was exemplary, unanimously, which is very impressive. What happens is, and Jay has received a full, it's in the dry folder, but he's received a compilation of everything. So all your comments are there. And we went through them together. But if he has any questions, he'll reach out individually or to the group as a whole, because he doesn't, excuse me, there's no names on it. So nobody knows, he doesn't know who's who, but he can probably guess, I think, sometimes, knowing us. So if I could have a motion, please.
I move the committee accept the evaluation of the superintendent for the year ending June 30, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, this will be a roll call vote. Amy Marr,
Amy Marr, aye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rahul Rati,
Aye.
and Laura Austin. Aye. Terrific. I'll send this to Lynn to post on the website to be completely transparent. And again, Jay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also,
I appreciate it.
I would never want my review to be done completely publicly. So I appreciate it's tough. I wouldn't want that. And you're one of the only positions that happens by a group of 5 people who don't necessarily work with you day to day. So it's a challenge, and I appreciate you for sure. So thank you. And I'm going to stop talking, even though I'm actually going to talk more for the next agenda item, which is, oh my gosh, I cannot speak tonight. Whew. Indigenous Peoples Day. So this, just for background, this has come up in the town via a citizen's petition to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. We did get an email from the citizen that I will bring up in correspondence, but taking it out separately from the town, this is something that we can control. We could move to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day on the calendar, or we could leave it as is, or we could do both. It's something I had personally been meaning to bring up for a while, especially when we voted to remove the name the Indian as the mascot. We did get some feedback that people were concerned that we were not honoring the Indians anymore. And this is a good way to do so. I think so. I do, if you'll indulge me, have a few slides that I put together just to kind of help people from, oh gosh, let's see. All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because to help people kind of understand the thoughts on this. It is going to be a topic at town meeting, but like I said, we can vote to do what we want to do regardless of what the town of Grafton decides. So, Indigenous Peoples Day. It's a holiday that celebrates and honors Native American peoples and commemorates their histories and cultures. It is celebrated across the United States on the second Monday in October and is official city and state holiday in various localities. It reimagines Columbus Day and changes a celebration of colonialism into an opportunity to reveal historic truths about genocide and oppression of Indigenous peoples in the Americas, to organize against current injustices, and to celebrate Indigenous resistance. I reached out to MASC to see what other districts were doing this, and here's a list of districts that have made the switch so far. Personally, I'd like to see Grafton on the list. It'd be nice to be on more of the forefront of something than waiting. And then just for everybody's reference, I did put some other resources in, not formatted well, but if you want to click to read some articles about the history of it, why it's been replacing Columbus Day, and all of that. I do think, we don't, as far as I know, have many Columbus Day celebrations within the schools, nor in town. But as we've kind of continued to be saying, words matter. There are very few people that have their own holidays in the United States. And I think we've learned differently about Columbus since we were kids, that he's not maybe the man that was first presented. That doesn't mean we're no longer going to teach about Columbus. Maybe it just means as our holiday, we don't have to celebrate him. So those are my thoughts. We definitely don't have to vote on it tonight, but I wanted to at least start the discussion, especially because it is coming up in town. And, if it votes on town meeting, we will have to add it, but it'd be nice to just kind of take a position and be ahead of it if it's something the committee wants to do. And I don't want to I'm not a Columbus scholar, so I can't offer much more than I am, but I'll open it up for discussion. Amy.
Thank you, Laura, for putting all that together. I've been doing a lot of reading about this because change is hard. And I know I've noticed that as I get older, personally, I find that sometimes I react negatively to new suggestions because we do become so ingrained in our ways. We do, to harken back to a phrase you used earlier, Laura, back in my day, things are not the way they were back then. And when we know better, we do better, right? So I guess I fully support making this change. I would vote to do it tonight. That seems to be the way things are going anyhow. We've been asked in correspondence to follow that, we kind of make some sort of statement or show some sort of support for it on a town level. And I think that's a good thing. This could be a way to do that. But I am mildly concerned about how we are teaching about Christopher Columbus and the peoples that he impacted in our schools. And I realize that most of the kids, at least my kids, learned about it, when they were little, and you don't want to be teaching them some of the really horrible things that he and his compadres, committed. They're too young to understand that. But are we teaching it is kind of my question. And I don't know where that fits into the curriculum. I don't know if anybody here has an answer to that question, or if that's something for another day. But I remember the song and I remember the names of the three ships. And I asked my kids the other day what they know. They knew those things, but they also had gotten a sense from recent media coverage that Columbus wasn't a great guy, and then maybe we shouldn't be celebrating him. And my older daughter said something to the effect of, "Well, he didn't actually discover anything; it was already here." So I was like, you're right. It's a good way to look at it. He got lost. He stumbled upon a culture he didn't know or understand, and he committed atrocities. And why do we celebrate that? And I guess it's because history is written by the victors. So maybe it's time for us to take a stand in the right direction and say, we're still going to observe and have a day off and time with family, but this is what the day really should be. And how do we translate that into curricular changes if they're needed?
Thank you, Amy. Anybody else? Liz,
Yeah, all I really have to say is I'd be in support of changing this tonight too. I don't have any, I think it's something that's been talked about for a while. I feel like I know enough about the arguments on both sides. And I know this wasn't listed as something that we were voting on tonight, but I'd still be prepared to do that. I like our school district being on the forefront of positive changes like this. And I agree with what Amy said. When we know better, we do better. And I have heard, my kids are a little bit younger, Amy, and I have heard more accurate histories coming through them. So I don't know exactly what the curriculum is. I don't remember exactly what they told me, but I get the sense that it is improving, which is good.
yeah, when I sent the correspondence over to Tracy Kalo, she was already kind of on it. And I think with the job description, I think this has been in the forefront of Grafton for a while. I mean, is there a class that maybe is learning? Like, I don't know. I don't want to say it's all happening because I'm sure there's the one. James.
I do have an answer to that point that Amy brought up. So I'm in AP US history, and we start the curriculum in 1491. So we do learn about that, but that's the only history class I've taken in high school that we've actually learned about that.
Right. So, I mean, what do you, not to put you on the spot, but what do you learn? That he sailed the ocean blue in 1492?
Well, we learn about like the actual history, about like the intentions of why he came and what happened and the legacy that he left.
Gotcha. Amy.
So you don't know the names of the ships?
The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. I do know the name of it.
A+.
Good. All right, because that's important. And the Mayflower, which is not related, but that's the other ship. So now I lost my. So that's the thing, and I think that's what I want to say, because I know there's the fear, like Columbus isn't being erased from our history. He's being taught the way he should be taught. And Amy, you summed it up perfectly. I mean, history is written by the victors. It was written by a lot of people that, everybody takes a perspective of it. And people look at history sometimes in an interesting lens. And now we're learning and we're standing up and we're giving some voice to some people that maybe haven't been represented. And that's what I think Grafton is about and where we're heading. So I'm happy to take a motion tonight. It sounds like we have agreement in that. I don't know if anybody has anything else they want to add. And we can further discuss what this means besides it just being a change on a calendar, at another time. But I think it'd be a great step forward. Amy.
I mean, I'll make a motion or we can wait.
I say let's make a motion. If we don't need any more information, I don't see why we need to wait.
All right, I move the committee change the observation of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, effective with the 2021-22 calendar.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote. Amy Marr,
Amy Mar, aye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rahul Reti,
Aye.
and Laura Often. Aye. Motion carries. Great. Well done. Right. Next, we're moving up to future agenda schedule planning. Next 2 weeks, we will have our reorg. So Jay and I will send information out about that in advance. What else do we have on? We'll have this high school handbook. So usually Jim comes for that, correct, Jay?
Yep, I think last year he came with Sharon.
Yeah. We'll have perhaps a budget update, and we were looking to have a presentation from some of the students that did the internships.
Yes, that's correct. They're on, right now, we are scheduled to have them present.
Excellent. All right, anything else that we want to add? Were we going to do a budget update that's on the, talk about spending, Amy?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
No,
And
I,
would
sorry.
like to ask about that. That's on June 8th, and that looks like it might be pretty full. So I didn't know if there might be an appetite to push that to the following meeting, because there's really nothing else. Unless there's something else to, I'm just looking at, I was looking at it earlier and it seemed like there's a lot.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the budget update?
Yeah, is that not the financial? report?
Yeah, Anita and I think it was out of the last meeting. I
It
can't keep all
was.
the meetings straight, but Anita and I have looked at a few different formats. And our thinking is on a regular basis, depending on what the committee wants, we're going to start putting different versions of, it might be a 1-page, 2-page, just overview report that we're going to try to put before you more frequently. Just to give I'm thinking like a 2-minute update. Just this is how we're trending, subs are up, whatever, up and down.
Great.
And if you like it, we'll keep it. And if not, we can make it quarterly, however you want to handle it.
No, I like that.
So much more routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Right.
sounds good. Thank you.
It'll be nice to hopefully get back into some sort of regularity.
Yep.
I keep knocking on wood every time. All right, we have a set of minutes for April 27th, 2021.
I move the committee accept the minutes of April 27th, 2021 as presented in the packet.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? All right, this will be a roll call vote. Amy Marr,
Amy Mar, aye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rahul Reti,
Aye.
Laura Often, aye. Motion carries 5-0. Terrific. We have a warrant.
I move that the committee accept warrant number 46 dated May 13th, 2021 in the amount of $831,854.24.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Amy Marr,
Aye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rahul Reti,
Aye.
and Laura Often, aye. Motion carries 4-0. We're skipping over ADA assessment, Jay.
Yeah, just to give you a quick update on that, I was going off of the former amount where if it was a project over 25,000, we needed to go out to bid, but we needed to first get the committee's formal approval. Anita straightened me out, and that 25,000 is now 50,000. This project, the ADA project's expected to come in around 30,000. So we don't need an official vote. We're more than happy to take any questions that people have, but we've updated you on the process. William Blake from the municipal side gave Anita the RFP proposal, that documentation that they used a few years back when the municipal side went out for this process. So that's fantastic. That saves us a lot of time and effort. We're going to update that document and put it out for bid, and then we'll keep you updated as we move forward.
Thank you. Any questions on that for Jay or Anita? Great. Thank you. All right, and next I'm going to turn this over to to Kristen Gaspar, and she's going to talk about the teacher's contract.
Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so first I'd like to thank the committee and also the GTA members for what I believe was a very collaborative process through this negotiation. It was positive. I think we all worked to create what I believe to be a positive contract for our teachers going forward. There are 5 major points for the negotiations this time. The duration of the contract, the last several years, we've had only 1-year contracts, and we were able to negotiate a 3-year contract this year. So that will bring us from 2021 through 2024. We did agree on a COLA of 2.5%, 2.5%, 2% over the 3 years. We talked about personal days and tried to incentivize good attendance for our teachers. We know that, things come up for teachers all the time, but really having our teachers in the classrooms on a day-to-day basis is what's best for students. And so we worked to incentivize the good attendance through the personal days. We added a longevity clause for our teachers who have been in the district for more than 25 years. And we worked on some stipends. Our K-6 health and wellness specialist teachers and fine arts teachers will now be on par with our grade level leaders and will be represented in each of the elementary schools. So that was a positive change for them as well. Any questions about that?
Well, I was on the negotiating committee with Jennifer Conley. So I just wanted to thank everybody who was on the teachers side and on our side, especially you, Kristen, for all your work to make this contract happen. I echo this agreement. I do think this is a positive contract for our teachers. And I'm very proud of it. And I think it's going to also continue to move our district in a positive direction and acknowledge the work that's been done. So thank you. And thank you to Maureen Stake and Robin Bergen for leading the GTA in a very difficult year this year. Any questions?
And then, Laura, I think we're going to vote on this
Yes,
as well.
We do need to vote. So is there specific language, or do we just vote to accept the 2021 through 2024? Is it on the MOA?
Is the MOA.
Okay, hold on. Zoom does not like me to minimize because I'm recording, so it keeps yelling at me. There we go. So I will need a motion to accept the memorandum of agreement between the Grafton School Committee and Grafton Teachers Association for the fiscal year 2022. Is that correct? Yes. Can I get a so moved, or Amy, you look confused?
Sorry, was that MOA in our packet? Have we seen the?
It was not. It was added at the very last minute. So we can certainly hold and give you guys time to review that. I think that would be okay with the teachers, right, Kristen? Or we can vote on, what Kristen just said, which is what was changed in the contract. But I'm happy either way, and that's on me. I apologize. I thought I communicated that, and I didn't.
I mean, I'm sure I'd probably be fine with it. I just feel a little funny voting for it when I haven't.
Yeah, no. So why don't we do that, Liz? I think that's fair. I think it'll be fine to vote in 2 weeks. And just, Kristen, just let the teachers know, we needed just more time, and I don't think anybody is stalling on it, but we'll still be well before the contract ends, and I think it's absolutely fine to hold. So we'll do that. We'll add that to our future agenda. Perfect. Any other questions or something that people feel like they need before our next meeting? Okay, terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Nope, it makes perfect sense. And Kristen, we'll turn it back to you for some updated job descriptions.
So in your folder for your review are 4 job descriptions, 2 of which are new descriptions. One is for the Director of Student Success, Equity, and Inclusion, and the other is for math interventionists. And then we've also updated 2 of our job descriptions, math specialist and reading specialist, which we would like now to call literacy specialists. I believe Jay had presented a little bit about the Director of Student Success, Equity, and Inclusion position. The math interventionist position is similar to our literacy interventionist positions that we have at the early elementary level, working on reading and writing. Our math interventionists would work on math facts, fluency, and practical skills.
I just want to add that, just to remind you that when we've talked about these 4 positions in the past, I just want to be clear, they're not a part of the standard FY22 budget, or they are a result of monies provided through the ESSER 3 funding. And that funding, we'll probably add a couple more positions as we move forward, but that funding is in place through June of 2024. So it gives us 3 years of funding for the purpose of accelerating student achievement and mental health initiatives, basically in an effort to bounce back from this, the past year that we've had.
Excellent. Any questions from the committee? Liz, did I see your hand?
Yeah, as I put it down so I could go off mute. Just a formality, I saw the job descriptions look great. I just saw at the bottom of some of them have adopted, approved, and some of them don't have dates. So I imagine when it's all finalized, there'll be dates that it was changed and then adopted by, I guess, us tonight, and that'll all be ironed out. Just
That's
for
correct.
record's sake. Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? We do need to vote on the job descriptions. So we can group them together if people don't have any questions or concerns about any of them, and just do it in one motion.
I move to accept the revised job descriptions for Director of Student Services, Equity and Inclusion, Math Interventionist, Math Specialist, and Literally Specialist as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. Amy Marr?
I'm sorry, can we come off the share thing? Since we don't need to see the slides there we go. That's better. Okay. Now I
There
can- I did have one question, if I may. I don't know if you couldn't see me waving or what.
I couldn't see you waving. I'm sorry.
What's the disadvantage of that mode? Whatever. So with the math interventionist, it sounds like there's some flexibility there that we might be able to hire. How many people could we hire in that? We hire like 5 or 6. Are we just going to do 1?
Jay, do you want me to speak to
Yeah,
that?
yeah, feel free.
So currently what we do with our literacy interventionists, we have 4 or 5 at the K1 level, and it really is dependent on student need and number of hours the literacy interventionists are available. So some will work 15 hours a week. Some will work only 6 or 9 hours a week. It's typically 2 to 3 hours a day, and it's based on student availability and student need. And so we're constantly doing assessment to determine which students will need the services of the interventionists. And currently, the literacy interventionists are deployed by Lisa Rice. And so the math interventionists would be deployed by our math specialists, to be named. And it would be the same thing. And we're looking at early elementary grades 1, 2, 3, where those foundational skills are being remediated, especially.
I had one more question.
Sure.
It was about the literacy. I don't want to say the wrong word. This is where the slide. Yeah. So how does I noticed the reporting structure. How does the literacy specialist interface with Lisa?
So currently, Lisa runs the literacy meetings. So the department meetings after school, and she also helps to coordinate the data and then deploys those literacy specialists across the district elementary wise.
But the coordinator, the new position, how does that fit into this?
The literacy specialist position?
I thought it was called something else. I'm sorry. I'm very confused today. Never
So
mind.
are you talking about
Oh,
the 4 that are?
Yeah, the 4 that we have up tonight. One of them is literacy something something.
Literacy specialist. And so that really is taking the place of reading specialists. So those are teachers who,
Okay,
yes.
that's what I was asking. Sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
I have a tiny screen. I can't fit everything I want. Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded. Any
Yes.
further discussion? All right, hearing none. Amy Marr,
Bye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rohova T,
Aye.
and Laura Austin, aye. Motion carries. Excellent. All right, and now I'm going to bring it over to Liz, I hope, or myself for policy. You're on mute, Liz.
Pushing the wrong button. Can I share my screen, please?
Yes, you sure can. You should be able to.
Okay, here we go. All right, so the first 1, 2, 3, 5 of these are for second reading after our last meeting when we either talked about deleting some of these policies or made changes to them. So this one, trying to remember now. I can't remember if we made any changes to this.
Sorry, I just cleaned it up so they could see how it was presented because I feel like it's tricky with all the track changes.
I can't remember the changes we might have made, but here it is.
They reflect all the changes discussed.
Yeah. So if
I
anyone
think yeah,
grab a older version perhaps and
that's okay.
is. Let's see, should I go through the second readings? Maybe we can vote on those collectively unless anyone
Yeah,
has questions.
that sounds good. I think the only one was the one that Amy had a couple questions on, and just maybe we can share how we changed. We
Yeah.
took newspaper out just to kind of reflect some of her questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
And this was the one where we tried to consolidate information about the budget and how it gets approved at town meeting. And the
those need to be deleted.
brackets out.
Yeah.
So that will be in the final version we vote on tonight, hopefully. This was the one we discussed at last meeting, trying to anticipate the fact that we may not always publish in a newspaper, as Amy suggested. So we just left it generic and said just called it public disclosure.
And we felt like that still reflected the general law. Amy?
I like that. Yes, because the general law still says newspapers, and if they change it, then we can do whatever they make it, and we don't have to worry about it. I love it.
Exactly.
Great
Yes.
idea.
Thank you.
Okay. And then this again was the final adoption of the budget with the citizens at town meeting. That this was, I think, no. Then this one is the last one for second reading, just describing what can be transferred with or without approval of the school committee. I think that's it. Yeah, so those are the 5 for second reading tonight. I can go back to the first. And I'll let Laura, etc., take it from here.
Oh, sorry, I was sneezing. We can take a motion to approve the policies as second reading as presented.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, Amy Marr,
Aye.
Liz Finney,
Aye.
Rahul T,
Aye.
and Laura Often. Aye. Okay, and next we have a few new policies for your consideration tonight. I'm going to turn it back to Liz.
Scrolling, my daughter is always complaining that I scroll too fast when I'm working through documents, so I'm making you all dizzy like I make her dizzy tonight. This one we looked at is this fiscal accounting and reporting. This talked about several reports that ought to be prepared. These were not reports that I think in practice were being prepared, nor did we see a use for them to be prepared. We talked earlier tonight about the updates on the budget that we're going to start getting, which in the committee's opinion and in my opinion, I think is what we really want to focus on, what we really want to see. And then we took out what we still thought this was important, that the GLs would be kept in conformance with state numbering codes. And so we added that to the end of the MASC policy that we proposed adopting with some revisions here. So some of it was just to improve the language a little bit, take out some of the passive language, etc. Do you want to pause on each one, Laura, or go through all of
I think, well, maybe we just ask if there's any questions, just so we're not making ourselves dizzy by scrolling. But then there are, no, I think it's fine this time. Any other questions on this one? We did also run these by Anita and Jay in advance of the meetings, just since they're kind of policy about what they do, what Anita does. Okay.
this reflects what our plan was that we talked about tonight too. So
yeah. Moving on.
Next one is, okay, this one was funny. It talked about revolving accounts. So I checked the Mass General Law. Neither Chapter 71 nor, or Section 47 nor 71E under Chapter 71 talk about revolving accounts. So I could not figure out where this came from. I actually looked at each of the sections between 47 and 71E. So it was, I don't think it was a mistype. I don't know where this came from. It's a little bit of a mystery to me, but I couldn't find any state law that talked about school revolving accounts in Chapter 71 or anywhere else. And nor do I think we need it, because if it's in the law, then that's the law. So that's our recommendation, is deleting this. All right. Any questions? Or just stop me if I need to. Okay, so this.
No, you're doing great.
This did talk about the monthly statements showing appropriations, expenditures, encumbrances, and balances. I don't think any of us wanted to see monthly reports. We do get the warrant. We get, so I think, you know, that's sufficient. And having line item balances reviewed biannually. And we talked in one of the earlier policies that I just showed you about getting those reports. And so we didn't see a need for this one as well. So, yeah. Amy?
I was unmuted already. I'm amused that we haven't followed this in, I would say, 5 years that I've at least been paying attention. But yeah, I agree. This seems superfluous.
Well, I mean, I think it goes for transparency, and I don't want it to be out there that we haven't been reviewing our financials, because we do that. It's just, this is a little bit much, and it's not an MASC policy. It seems to be kind of a micromanagement policy, which isn't the direction that we're going in. And if we want these, we can just ask. We don't need a policy to tell us, what we need. So,
And we do get the warrant. We see it.
right, right.
We see what's being spent and we approve what's being spent every month. So
Right.
if we have questions or think something's awry, we can call it to someone's attention then. And we do get the other reports that we talked about earlier. So
yeah.
All right.
This is my favorite.
Do you want to talk about this one, Lauren?
No, you go ahead. You're doing great.
The superintendent director of finance responsible for establishing adequate purchasing procedures. Again, we questioned why this was a school committee policy. I mean, of course they are. I think we talked about this being in their job description anyway. Didn't we get confirmation that it was in their job description?
Yeah.
Why it was a school committee policy, we could not figure out. So it's happening. It's covered. Doesn't need to be a school committee policy in our opinion. Any questions? Okay, this was the one we marked up a bit because we actually wanted to keep this one, but we just wanted to revise it. This was talking about gate receipts, which just normally applies to athletics, but we made it more vague so that it covers any admission. So it covers theater admissions and anything else where we're charging fees. And also just clarified the process for how the money is handled, whether it's whether the event falls on a weekend or whether it falls during the week, and what the requirements are for keeping that money safe. The original language was a little muddy, so we tried to clean that up with the changes that you see here in green. Any questions about any of this?
Amy?
This is a great idea. I don't remember the last time I heard the phrase gate receipt. 20 years ago. I had two questions. One, in the very first sentence, it says adequately controlled. And I felt like that was very strange. And I didn't know if you had some idea of where that came from and why it says that. Just adequate, or like, it feels odd to me. You're laughing. I didn't watch the meeting, I promise. So
No, I know you didn't. And I feel like we actually did discuss the word adequate, but we didn't do anything with it. But my memory might be.
can we just take it out? It should be controlled, right? I mean, do we need a modifier?
Because I lost you. Oh, there you are.
I think of a better word that we could use there. But I'm not coming up with one presently.
I don't know that you need a moderator. I mean, a modifier, excuse me.
Shall be controlled, shall be adequately controlled.
Adequately just seems like,
Couldn't we just take out that whole sentence? The principal is responsible for the administration and supervision of all phases of the events and will control the admission receipts or something.
There you go.
And then get rid of the passive voice.
You could get rid of the passive voice.
Yes.
And shall ensure.
And we can do this offline too, Liz, at our next meeting.
What did you say though? Just so we.
I said ensure collection of admission receipts or admissions.
But
That's what I said.
the money isn't lost.
Right.
So,
And that somebody's not taking it home, like whatever, captain or whomever is just taking the money home. And
And shall ensure the, I don't know, something like, we'll do this one for our second reading next week, right?
Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
time.
We'll meet before then and we can wordsmith this, but
I don't know, something to ensure that the money isn't lost, but we'll come up with better.
Right. yeah, but good point, Amy.
I literally laughed out loud when I read adequately, and it just
I mean,
seems
who's measuring if it's adequate or not?
right. It's just, I mean, it's just okay. If it's adequate, it's all right. It's not great. It's not tightly controlled.
I'm ashamed of myself for not coming up with a better word right
You
there.
had another thought, Amy, you said? Did you say-
No, I hadn't. It was just taking the word out. But I
Oh,
agree with you about the passive voice. I think it'd be better to just reword it.
Yeah.
So since I'm on to Downingtown High School, I will also say that if you use passive voice in any of your themes, you would get an F.
I wonder if that's a Pennsylvania thing.
I don't know. Did you have theme readers?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway,
So I had another question.
yeah, you did have 2 questions.
The last line, I think it's the last one. No student shall take money home at any time. Should we not also add employee? Employees should be taking money home either. They should be going into the safe. Money, not the employees.
Unless it's received on a weekend.
I think they're still put in the safe.
Oh, well, where is this? Okay.
So, number 5. So remember we talked about regardless, it's put in a safe, and then we added that no student, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's yeah, I think the idea was sort of in addition, no student shall take money home at any time, but you're right. No.
Yeah. No one.
No. Let's just say no one. Okay, we'll work that out. Maybe it's just no one.
We can update, Liz.
Volunteer, nothing.
I mean, that's a fair point, but
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cause a thing. All right, cool. I love this. I think this is great. Good job. Thank you for doing.
Thanks. All right. I think that's it.
That's it.
Oh, so we can vote on these for first. We have first readings and then we have removals.
I could do it.
So we have edits to this last one. Let's see, we have removal, and then first reading for, is this the first one? For the
Yeah.
fir-
Yeah. So we have 2 first readings and 3 removals.
This is first reading. This is first reading. This one was, we just recommended removing it, right?
Yeah, you're correct. That is wrong.
There, so.
All right. Well, I move to accept policy DA, DBC, DBEL, DBG, DBJ as a second reading. To remove policies DIBL, DIC, DJB, and to accept as a first reading DI and DFB through DFD-R.
Sorry, Amy, did you, in your motion, you mentioned the first 5 too?
Did we already do that?
Already voted on those, so.
Me?
Yeah,
Oops. I amend my motion to remove the first 5.
okay. Second.
All right. Motion made and amended and second. Any further discussion? All right. Amy Marr,
Aye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rahul Ratique,
Aye.
and Laura Austin. Aye. Terrific. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you all.
All right. And next we have member reports. Oh, Amy?
I just had a quick question. Are you guys all done now with policy, or do you still have more to go?
Oh,
Come on.
we have
Well,
more
I
to
meant-
go. For D?
Well, you had like a goal, right? Didn't you have a goal of which ones you were going to get through? How close are you to that goal?
Over the next 3 years.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood. I thought you had already broken them up into 3 groups. Okay,
No, but we're almost done D,
We
which
did.
is great.
Going to take us 3 years to get through all of them.
awesome.
We're in a rotation, and that was set up originally. Actually, that was set up from, I don't know, years ago.
Oh, you're using that rotation. Okay, that was what I was trying to figure out. All right, cool.
Trying
Yeah.
to
We
do it.
try to break them down so we're not spending too much time in these meetings on policies. So, because we could spend an hour on this, but so we lose our ratings. We already lost half our audience during policy.
I was going to say there weren't that many on to begin
No,
with.
there weren't, but there were 5 and now there's 2, which is more than half if my math skills are correct, right, Kristen? Okay, member reports. Amy.
What?
Oh, I saw you take yourself off mute.
Well, I'll go. So I had the least busy week in a while, so I don't really have any like reporty things. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Grafton Theater putting on a production this weekend. Attendance is limited, but they're doing Midsummer Night's Dream on the football field, and I think that's a really great kind of way to use the resources we have. And having to figure out how to do this in a pandemic, I'm sure has not been easy. But shout out to them for giving it a college try. And also to encourage everybody to get out and vote next Saturday, May 22nd. Polls are open 8 to 5. Good luck to all the candidates.
Thank you, Amy. Anybody else? Well, I attended the MASC Lunch and Learn on Learning Recovery, which was talking about kind of what's next for the pandemic. And I did like their use of the word learning recovery versus, as we've kind of discussed, how much we do not like loss or words like we're behind. But we do know that there are challenges up ahead, and some of what Jay has discussed in the job descriptions are exactly what they recommended for us to do. So I think Grafton is well positioned to move forward. And I'm, like Jay, excited to tackle what's coming up. So that, and let's see, I already mentioned Everyday Heroes. I will get to present to the scholarship students on Thursday night. So I'm pleased to do that. It's at the same time as Everyday Heroes. So if members of the committee could attend Everyday Heroes, that would be nice, because I'll be sorry to miss that event. And I think that's it for me. Anybody else with member reports? James, Annabelle?
Not much going on right now. Just all the senior events like the scholarship night, and then the whole week of senior night and graduation and all that's coming up pretty soon. I've got 17 more days until my last day.
Who's counting though, right?
I think I have 30. So
And Annabelle, you'll be next. You'll be up with us next year. So that's good. At least we don't have to say goodbye to you. All right. Any other member reports? All right. Hearing none. We did, as I mentioned earlier, we did have one piece of correspondence, which I threw in the drive from Julie Feeney. She is head of Grafton, co-admin of the group Grafton Rise for Racial Inclusion and Social Equity. She did present to the select board about this a couple years, and what she's doing is she was writing to us to support replacing Columbus Day holiday with Indigenous Peoples Day, done, as well as the consideration of programming both on this holiday as well as the holiday of Juneteenth that would engage students to celebrate, discuss, and further invest and connect with elevating the voice of the BIPOC community of Grafton. And she is requesting that we support the school committee and school community support the warrant articles to present it in town meeting, which will discuss these holidays. I didn't include the warrants in this meeting. I kind of wanted to open it up to you guys to see if that's something you wanted to entertain. I mean, the Juneteenth holiday, I believe, is a state holiday anyway. So that's always been a little confusing to me about the warrant, about the request. And Amy, I think you probably know a little bit more about this than I do. Amy.
Yeah, so in regular years, knock wood, we wouldn't have to worry about Juneteenth because we wouldn't go that late.
Right.
We do this year, I believe, because we're going to stop on the 23rd, but because it's on a Saturday, there is no state observance this year. So we're okay for the current academic year. Next academic year, it'll be on a Sunday, and they do have an observance on the Monday. The only way that would come into play is if we had, I believe, 2 or 3 snow days. So at some point, we may have to make a decision to mark it on the calendar and make it a day that we would skip.
What do you mean by skip?
So let's, fantasy world, let's say we had 5 snow days next year, right? So we would go the 2 days before June 20th, the Thursday, Friday. Then we come to Monday. If that's a state holiday, we have it off. Then we
Right.
have the other 3 days on the other side. That's the only situation we would have that in. And in terms of programmatic aspects for that holiday, I feel like we have to do something different. It wouldn't, I mean, it can't be on that day because obviously we have to take it off. But like at the end of the school year, I don't know how impactful and effective that's going to be. I don't know where I'm going with this. It was just, I had forgotten the curriculum part.
Yeah, no, and I went back to her, kind of asking her, because it's kind of it seems like it's a simple ask, but there's more things to it, and I think it's kind of where we're heading anyway, where we're looking at diversity, we're looking at inclusion, we're acknowledging these kind of holidays. So I think it's something that we take as a lens. I don't know if we have to make a statement tonight that we're all in support. And you're right. I mean, it's a very important holiday, so I don't want to negate that, but it's a tricky time of year, right, for schools.
And when you don't know until when you're, when do we usually know when the last day of school is for sure? Like right about now, right? We're probably
March.
not going to get snow. So how do you fit that into the curriculum? I don't know the answer. Maybe every school does it a little bit differently. Maybe they have speakers come in. I don't know how you do that. I don't know that that's necessarily the committee's role. Maybe it is. But in terms of changing the calendar, that is our role. So the question is, do we want to do it now? Do we want to wait? Do we want to have another discussion later and have to change it? Or do we want to just wait and hope that we don't have to deal with it next year because it's going to be after school's out technically? I don't know. Jay, what do you think? Yeah, I know you love the calendar, so get in here.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
think Liz had her hand up as well.
Oh,
Amy.
go right ahead, Liz.
But
No, I was just going to say, I think it's something that we should ponder a little bit more and talk about, because it's more than just changing the name of a holiday. This is adding another holiday to the calendar, and there's other implications in doing that, especially at the end of the year. So I think we put a pin in it and talk about it later.
Yeah, I agree.
all right. Her other request, and I apologize for not including the warrants, and we do have one more meeting before then, is if we want to come out in support of them or not. I do think there's an expectation that our opinion is more weighty than it might be, but we could write a letter in support if we choose to, and we do not have to. That the school committee, as a leadership body in this town, is responsible for students' education. We support these 2 warrants, but I wouldn't do that tonight since we don't have the warrants in front of us. So if we're interested in at least discussing it, I can just throw it on our next agenda and we can talk about it. Is that all right?
And that helps Kristen and I actually connect with the municipal side. If it is counted down the road as a paid holiday, it's got an obvious financial implication, and we'll be able to get a sense of what that figure would look like and put that before you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of holidays we don't have off that are meaningful holidays. Like that's where, so I'm a little confused just about like what exactly it means. I'm not against recognizing the day for its importance.
Yep.
So it's just finding that out. Okay. So
Sure.
thank you, Julie, for that, and we'll to be continued. And that was the only correspondence I received. We don't have any executive session, so unless anybody has anything else they'd like to say, we can adjourn, make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All right, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
just that we missed Jen. Hi, Jen.
Yes. Hi, Jen. All right. Amy,
Aye.
Liz Spinney,
Aye.
Rahul
Aye.
and Laura Often. Aye. All right, motion, meeting adjourned. Good night, Grafton.